What is up, my lovers? Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I haven't done a video like this, okay? And I've gotten a lot of questions over this past year, I'll say, of people saying, like, do you have a podcast or you should start a podcast? And in my head, originally, I've always just thought, like, I'm happy to guest on other people's podcasts, but I didn't really see myself having one. And I don't even know if this will turn into a podcast. Maybe it's just long form YouTube videos. I don't know. Anyways, either way, welcome to what I'm going to call the first episode of Love Thyself. I'm Lindsay. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll know that I actually already kind of make videos with the title of Love Thyself. And really, what that title and Love Thyself means to me is that it is our job to love ourselves fully. And when I say that, I mean, when we can go within and understand who we are and just our true essence, like everything about who we are, it changes the way that we live. And my life is a testimony to this. I'll be sharing some of my story through the message of today. But I just really had a message placed upon my heart over the last couple of days. So I just really want to share what's been on my heart. And again, I don't know if this Love Thyself long form will turn into a podcast. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. If you have thoughts about that, let me know in the comments. But other than that, let's just get right into the message of today. And today's message is called Turning Your Pain into Purpose. And really, where that starts is that, as unfortunate as it is to hear, your pain, or the thing, like the big event in your life, maybe when you think of like the most pain you've been in, let's say, that actually can be a catalyst for finding your purpose. And as I mentioned, I'll be telling my own story as we go because truly now I live what I would say is a life of purpose. I feel so rich in purpose every single day because of what I get to do. And I would not be doing what I'm doing had I not had what I would describe as one of my most painful experiences. And instead of letting our pain actually be a reason for us to be in kind of a victim mentality, like this thing happened to me, blah, blah, blah. Instead, if we can shift that into a arrow, you know what I mean? And look at our pain and be like, gosh, this really could be a driver for my purpose. Truly everything can change. So let's just get into my story and we'll go from there. So if you're new around here and you're like, who the heck is this person? Like I said, I'm Lindsay. I'm the founder of With Love, which is a mindset coaching business, really around the idea of helping people understand who they are inside so that they can have higher performance, higher confidence, higher leadership, etc. And where the idea of that kind of business came from and just the basis of everything starts with my own story. So like I said, when I think of in my life, one of the most like painful like situations I feel like I've found myself in, or if I think about like my first heartbreak, I actually think of it when I got cut from a dance team when I tried out for my college dance team. And to give you the context, when I was growing up, and in high school and all that stuff, like my primary identity was myself as a dancer. And if anyone asks, like, tell me about yourself, whatever, like that would be like my entirety of my answer. Like, I am a dancer and that's pretty much it. Like, it was just who I was. Like, I loved it. I still do. Dance will always hold a special place in my heart. But the amount of vivid memories I have as like a child and growing up of like watching older dancers and being so inspired and just truly, I felt like dance really set a piece of my soul on fire. Okay. Now, when I went to college, I began to audition for my college dance team. I went to the University of Iowa, and I knew that like making it to a college dance team was like gonna be hard. I guess I didn't really understand the process that I was getting myself into. And in hindsight, obviously you can always see things better when you're looking back. But when I look back on like my journey, I definitely could have like prepared more, but also I know everything happens for a reason and that I wouldn't be here telling you this story if it went a different way than it did. Okay. So long story short, I go to try out for this college dance team. Okay. And I made it to, I think like the second to last round. And I ended up being cut. And to that point, you know, I'm 18, 19 years old and that was like devastation to me. Me and my mom were down in Iowa at the time, and we were staying in a hotel, through tryouts. And I remember like that whole night. Well, when we were at the audition, when they were reading off the numbers of who would continue on to the next round, they didn't read my number. And I was so unprepared for that to happen that I was like, oh my gosh, like there must be a mistake. Like they must have accidentally missed my number. Like there's no way, that this is happening. And anyways, once the realization hit, like, nope, you're done dancing, girly, we went back to the hotel and I was sobbing. And my poor mom, she's like, okay, like we could try to like go get, food, try to cheer you up, whatever. And we went to Applebee's and I was like just distraught. Anyways, long story short, that was seriously, I'm kind of laughing about it now, but in the moment I wasn't laughing. Like it was a really hard thing for me because this big piece of my identity had now felt like it was taken away. And again, in hindsight, you can see that if you have something that you love, just because one no is a no doesn't mean it's a no forever. And you'll see that through my story as I kind of share. But long story short, it's already a long story. That aspect of getting cut for me was a pain point. Now, that's not the end of the story, but that is where some of us stop, right? We experience some pain or something that happens in our life, and we can let ourselves just get stuck in that place for so long. And I recognize that not every type of pain is the same, right? And not everyone's story is the same. And there's definitely some stories or pains or traumas that you can go through that are a lot heavier than what I'm sharing about. But no matter what kind of pain or story you're going through, it's so important to not stay in that place of pain and instead choose to walk forward into a place of purpose. So what I'm going to be talking about with you guys today is 3 ways, the 3 C's I'm going to call it, that you can go from a place of pain to stepping into a life of purpose. And I'm going to be sharing this through the lens of my own story. But with everything that I do, and if this turns into a podcast or if I just do more messages like this, my goal is that you don't just take my story and like take it for what it is, right? I want this to be kind of a seed to plant in your own heart and for you to take it back and look at your own life. Like let this be kind of a mirror for you of how can I apply this to myself and what questions can I ask myself? What can I learn from myself? Because again, at the end of the day, like my purpose with love and love thyself and all this stuff is not that I'm here with all the answers, because I'm not. I am just a human living life for the first time, just like all of us. But my goal is always to help you ask the right questions to yourself, because at the end of the day, when we can turn that inward, we often have the answers we need already within us. They just need to be brought to the surface. So let's get into the 3 C's to help us walk in purpose. I've got my notes here, so I'm excited to share what I've got written, but I also know that anything else that comes up is meant to be shared with you guys today, so I'm not going to try to be too rigid with what I have written. But the 3 C's we're going to be going through is having choices, using creativity, and finding community. Okay, so let's just start with that first one, choices. And to start with this, I'm going to go back to my story of when I was cut from dance team and now I was trying to find who I was outside of dance. And the way that I had to do this was trial and error, to be honest with you. I had gone so long with that identity, that core identity of I am a dancer and this is who I am. And then now I'm a freshman in college. I'm not dancing. So I'm like, I have no idea who the heck I am. I don't know where I fit in. I don't know what I am passionate about outside of dance, right? It was so many question marks, which can be overwhelming. And I think something that helped me get from that place of I am lost and confused, to just enjoying the process and starting to walk in purpose is to just try everything. obviously that's easier said than done, and it's like that can be confusing, but I think that like as human beings we love to define ourselves and put ourselves in boxes of like I am this thing, I am this thing, I fit into this label, and we like to fit all neat into a box, but we're not meant to. We're not meant to fit into these neat little boxes, right? We are multifaceted human beings with different interests, different like things that we're good at, different ways that we work with people. Like there's so many things about who we are that won't fit into a neat little box of I am XYZ, right? And so when it comes to my own story, when I was cut from dance team, I had to start here. I'm like, well, I've got nothing better to do. I might as well start to kind of just see what I like, start to play around. And there is so much to say about the energy of play. If we can kind of lean into things with curiosity, it makes things so much more fun rather than like having that thought of like, oh my gosh, I need to hurry up and define myself because I'm uncomfortable if I don't, right? I mean, if that comes up, that's telling us something else instead, which we can look at and go into with ourselves. But what I'm trying to say is that it's so good to have curiosity and just try things. And that's exactly what I did. When I got to college and I was in that freshman year, I ended up joining a sorority. I ended up studying abroad when I was in college. I became a group fitness instructor. I started loving taking group fitness and working out. I created a fitness Instagram page at one point, Fit with Linz, if you know, you know. I just tried everything. And I think even that for some people can be really, really hard because if you feel like you're trying on kind of a different persona, you might let the what other people will think about you stop you from even doing that, right? Like you may not even want to try to take a workout class or something like that because you feel like you're not the type of person that does that. But that is all just like limiting beliefs that we can actually just choose to ignore or choose to work through. Because at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter what other people think. It genuinely does not. And I think that when I just think back to myself as a freshman in college, like there are so many ways I was just so focused on what would people from my high school think, or what would so-and-so think about this, or how am I going to explain this to other people? Let me be the first to tell you, you don't owe anyone an explanation, okay? You don't have to explain why you're trying something or why you're doing something. In the most recent years, I've loved doing solo dates, but I know that that can be even a barrier to imagine when you're like a young adult. You're like, I'm not going and doing anything alone. That's like so embarrassing. But it's like truly when you get past that and you let yourself just do things that you want to without an explanation of like, well, I'm doing this because it might lead to this and da da da. Like just try it. You don't need to have that reason to do something. And I think that like for me, it was really hard at first when I was kind of stepping out of this identity that I had grown up in as like a dancer. And then I was like, I'm going to dabble in coaching. I'm going to dabble in like this identity of me when I was abroad. And I was trying to understand like what perspectives do I have from home? What perspectives do I have from now this new place? Like there was just so many things that time for me was critical in just growing. But I wouldn't have done that if I didn't open myself up to choices. And when it comes back to my story, I didn't always feel open-minded. And I've often shared this story. And it's when I had graduated college and I had gotten a degree in computer science. And I was like, okay, like I guess the corporate route's like the next, that's what we do, right? Like I was just kind of following the pipeline and I wasn't actually pursuing what I wanted to at that point. And I think a big part of that is I was still in that victim mindset of like, well, I guess this is just the way it is, like whatever, not really taking accountability for my own life. But all that's to say, when I started this corporate job, I was honestly not very excited about it. I mean, I was trying to be optimistic, but clearly like I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. Now, I always have to give the disclaimer. I loved the company I worked for, loved the people I worked with. So it wasn't anything like that. It just like something about me and that calling like wasn't clicking. And it took a while for me to be able to step back like, oh my gosh, Lindsay, you're not a victim. Like if you don't want to be in corporate, then don't be. And for so long, I literally could not see an option, like a different thing. Like I thought that, if I wasn't going to be in corporate, I had to be super passionate about something else, blah, blah, blah. And anyways, all of this is to say that you have choices. And that is so empowering because oftentimes when we are mourning a loss of either a former identity or maybe a person, maybe a relationship, like whatever kind of pain you're looking at right now, as this is maybe a big pain in your life, pain tries to tell us that we don't have any options, right? Like when I got cut from this team, it's like, that's it, you're done dancing, that's all. And it feels so final. And that's why pain can feel kind of debilitating because it feels like there's no way forward. And if you want to start living a life of purpose, like a heart-led life that you love, the first step to that is being willing to see the choices. And a big part of that is acceptance. This probably gets into, I don't remember where I learned this, some like health class or whatever. There's the stages of, maybe it's the stages of grief or something. I don't really know what I'm thinking of, but it's like anger, acceptance, anger, grief. I don't remember. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that the first step to kind of seeing those choices is accepting where you are. Because if you're trying to look at choices that half of the doors are closed to you, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to see what's actually open. So the first step to that, if you're in this place of pain, something that you can do right now is sit down with yourself. Maybe this is in meditation. Maybe this is in journaling. Y'all know I love journaling, okay? Maybe this is in a conversation with somebody who you really trust, whatever the case may be. I recommend maybe solo first, so just because you need to get into your secret quiet space with yourself for most of these conversations. But anyways, get into this solo space with yourself and give yourself the space to just accept things maybe didn't go your way, or something bad did happen, or something not favorable to you in this moment did happen, right? And just give that space to be there. Because when you do that, then we are able to see, now I'm here, okay, now what? And that's how you open yourself up to the first of the 3 C's, which is just seeing the different choices that exist to you. The reality is that life is limitless. And the different possibilities and options that are available to us are limitless. And I know that, especially I feel like with social media and just, even with back in like movies and just whatever, I feel like we see paths portrayed to us. And it's like, unless you've seen the path before, you couldn't imagine how it could open up for you. You know what I mean? But somebody else hasn't had to walk your path before you for it to be possible. Does that make sense? Like, you could be the first one to walk on the path that you're on. And the way that you're going to see the ways forward is to open yourself up to choices. Okay, that's the first C, from how we're going from pain to purpose. The second C that I want to talk about is being willing to be creative in the solutions forward. Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit into my story. Post-college, blah, 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 I started coaching a high school dance team. And this actually was the same high school team that I was on when I was in high school. So I definitely was very, very passionate about this team, this program, everything. It meant so much to me in my life and story that I felt like I came in guns a-blazing, ready to go, and I had a lot to give. And through that experience, becoming a coach and just seeing kind of everything as a coach now, you're seeing what you were at one point. I was at one point the dancer, and now I'm coming back as the coach. And I just felt like naturally there was so many full circle moments and reflection built into that experience. And through that, I began to kind of look at the program I was coaching and also my experience from when I was in the program and just thinking about what could I have used at this age? What do these dancers need? And how can I give that to them? And once I kind of opened myself up, I first talked about choices, then it's okay, I see this thing that maybe needs help now. How can I create a solution to help the person that I once was, or to help the person that may be in the pain that I am now deciding to get out of? There's this quote. I wish I knew who said it, but I heard it on a podcast one time a long time ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. But it's, you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. I just think there's so much truth and power to that when we are looking at our pain point or that experience that we're thinking of when we're talking about like kind of something that could be in your pain, we actually, from that experience of having that painful moment, we actually can then move forward and serve people and the future of that experience so that other people don't live through the exact same pain that we did. And when I started asking myself these questions of like, what did I need at this age when I was on the team that I'm now coaching? And as I'm looking at these dancers and this program, like, what do I see that they need and how can I be the solution? Because again, when we're thinking about like that victim mentality, a lot of the times it's really easy. And I was here for so long of being like, this just sucks. There's nothing we can do to fix it. It just is what it is. And we're screwed. Like it can be so easy to get into that headspace. But even saying things like that and thinking about that space mentally feels so draining and like disempowering, right? Because it's like if there's nothing we can do, then it's just like there's nothing you can do. And then it doesn't feel very, you know what I mean? There's no empowerment there. So a shift that we can make is decide that you want to create something or be willing to create something that actually will make a difference for who you used to be and anyone that's going to walk in the path behind you. You know what I mean? It's like always making the world a better place than we found it. And I love looking at this from a lens of like, whether you believe in God or whatever you believe about like the creator or bigger energy or whatever you want to call it. I call it God. So I'm just going to refer to it as that, but apply it to yourself. What's crazy about God is that the first thing the Bible tells us is that God created, right? And then it's like we are created in God's image, meaning that it's also our job to create and to use our creativity. And y'all know I'm also a big fan of The Artist's Way. And in The Artist's Way, it talks about this, but our gift back to God is to use the creativity that God has given us. So just using the creativity that's already within us, we are able to please God in that way and to make the world a better place. And when I think back to like my time in corporate when I wasn't feeling very fulfilled, a big part of that is because I was not being creative in any which way. So I'm not saying corporate is bad. I please hope you don't hear that. But what I am saying is that it's so important to find a way that you can be creative, whether that be in your job that you spend most of your time doing or in a hobby outside of your work, or maybe you try to do a side thing or whatever the case may be. You know, it's going to look different for everybody, but it is in our human nature to create. And when we don't create or prevent ourselves from creating, that's when we are going to be far from purpose and we're going to lean further into that place of pain. So if we want to live a purpose-filled, heart-led life, it is our job and our responsibility to create. Now, with that said, I started to do that. I started to create the solution in my own story. So somewhere along the lines of coaching, corporate, etc., I got this idea of maybe I start something of my own. I have no idea what it's going to become. I have no idea anything about it. And slowly I just started taking the next step. And now I have what's my business of With Love, and I have this, and I have just, my life is completely different. But something I want to share about creativity, it's so easy to like look at the end goal of somebody else and be like, well, I'm so far from that. Like I could never be a business owner. Like I don't even know the first thing about it. But what you do know is the next thing to do. If you're really honest with yourself, you could look right now and go into your secret space, bring out your journal, bring out, meditation, whatever the case may be, and ask yourself, what is nudging on my heart to do? And why am I avoiding it? I guarantee you, if you sit with that question, maybe even as I said it, something's coming up for you like, yep, I've been avoiding sending this message. I've been avoiding reaching out to this person. I've been avoiding applying for this job I know I'm meant to apply for, right? Like we have these nudges on our heart, but if we don't take the time to actually listen to where they're directing us, we will not hear them. So make sure that you're taking that time with yourself, especially if you're trying to leave that place of pain and you're wanting to move forward. You can't move forward with that like identity of this thing happened to me and I'm a victim, right? It's like you need, back to our example of like accept what happened and then be willing to say, okay, what's the next step? What's nudging on my heart? What's a way that I can step forward? Because oftentimes that's already here. That thing that like we need to just do as the next step is already here. But I think where people can get caught up is like we won't know where that leads. And that can be so, so scary. And I sat there for a long time of like knowing maybe things that I wanted to do. There's still ways I do that every single day of like, oh, I know I should like do this for my business, or I know I should go get this task done, whatever the case may be. But I'm like, I just like put it off, or like you don't know where it's going to lead, so it's a little bit freaky. But when we can live in a place of surrender and just truly trust that if I do this next best thing, it's going to lead to purpose, it's going to lead to passion, it's going to lead to fulfillment and service to other people, which we'll get to, it's going to be a good thing. And as someone who's kind of like living that out now, it's so, so fruitful. Okay. We've got 2 of the 3 C's done. So we've talked about finding and seeing choices, opening up your mind to seeing what's out there. The second thing, talking about being willing to be creative, to lean into your creativity, to dabble with creativity, and also be willing to create the solution that you needed in that setting. Now, the third C that's going to take us from pain to a life of purpose is community. As human beings, we are designed for community. We're meant to live in community. Like if you think about, the olden days of like living with, like living in a tribe, like living with other people, like we are meant to work together, to support one another, to have emotional support, like just everything. We're meant to do life together. And especially, I always say like, especially with social media, but it's just so true. Like in today's age and world, like it's so easy to be isolated from one another. Like if you think about it, it's really crazy, but you could probably go a whole day, depending on your life circumstances, without talking to somebody else, which is just so sad. But it's like, think about it. If you're standing in line, waiting for something, like how often are you, instead of just flipping out your phone out of nature, how often are you like turning to the person next to you being like, hey, how's your morning? You know what I mean? It's just like, it really is crazy how far I feel like we've gotten from community. But it is so, so important. And when we're coming out of pain, or a place of pain, it can be hard to reach out. It can be so hard to like verbalize things about something that hurts your heart, because oftentimes we feel like if we talk about it, it makes it real. And that can be hard. And we don't want to talk about things that are hard, because also that means dealing with it. And a lot of times we'd rather suppress painful emotions than to feel them. But in order to get through painful emotions, you have to be willing to sit in them and move through them. And a big part of moving through them is leaning on community. And it can be so hard to reach out to somebody. I feel like I've always been very hyper independent in my life. I'm the oldest sibling, the oldest cousin on every side. And I feel like there's a lot of ways where I I take it upon myself to like be good for everybody else. You know what I mean? And I find myself at times, like if I need help or need support, I don't always ask for it. And I wonder if some of you guys can relate to that. Like it can be hard to raise your hand and be like, hey, I need prayer. Hey, I need support. I need someone to listen to me. You know what I mean? Like saying those things can feel hard because it can feel like we're admitting defeat. But the truth is, it's actually such a victory to be able to ask for help. And if we don't ask for help, we're only allowing ourselves to drown more and more, right? Like asking for help is actually a step forward in our recovery. And also, sometimes it's not about just asking for help. Maybe for you that's resonating. Boom, that's gorgeous. go with it. But also, maybe your call for community is actually to share your story, because that can draw people into and like can help be part of the solution of part of your purpose can be sharing your testimony and the ways that going through this thing, what you learned, so that other people don't have to go through the painful thing to learn the lesson you learned through the painful thing. Does that make sense? Back to my own story. Once I started kind of building this business and doing all the things I was doing, I started sharing a lot about my story online, just on TikTok, to you guys on YouTube, just sharing it out loud. And the ways that that has impacted my life has been so cool to see. Whether it be speaking opportunities, engagements that I get invited to, or just even one-off conversations I have with people of like, hey, you shared this thing and it really impacted me, means so much to me. And I can't imagine if I didn't share, or if I didn't use my voice that I was given for a reason to share what I'm saying, like those people then wouldn't have had that impact and their lives could be different because of that, right? Like sometimes if you're feeling like I don't really have much of a community, etc., maybe you're being called to start it. And every community needs somebody to be bold and to step out and be like, I'm starting this thing. And then that's how you can actually find people that are similar to you, because you're feeling confident to step out in who you are, and that will attract like-minded people towards you. And I will say that ever since I've kind of stepped into this boldness of myself and being willing to be vocal and being willing to like be seen as who I am, the amount of people that resonate with that and that it's brought into my life, like true friends of mine now, that are similar to me and also challenge the way that I think and are just close to me on such a deeper level than I had any other time in my life. It's because of this boldness that they've been able to kind of find me. So a big part of when we're trying to walk into purpose away from our story of pain, think about like the nonprofit organizations that are a huge community now, but someone had to start it from a place of, hey, this happened to a family member, this happened to me, and I lived through it, and now I'm going to have people rally around this topic so that we can make it better for the future. Like bringing people together is what gives an idea or a project like that power to really make a difference. So let's recap. Okay. We were talking about when you're coming from a place of pain, how can we get into a place of purpose? And how can we start to walk in our purpose so that we may live a confident, fruitful, abundant life? 3 C's we talked about. We talked about choices, we talked about using our creativity, and we talked about leaning on community. And when you do these 3 things, using your voice to create connection, being willing to create the solution that you needed so that it exists for other people, and just being open-minded, what like opportunities are even out there. When you do all of this, I promise you, you will be guided towards a more fruitful, more abundant, and more powerful life, and you will feel so much more just like impact in every day. Like I said, all of this is truly like from my testimony. Like I wish I could express to you the difference I feel now in the way that I wake up in my bed, or the way that I go to sleep, or the way that I show up in a conversation with a friend. Like when you walk in purpose, it bleeds into every aspect of your life, because it's just like you're so much more on fire for life. And I just want to encourage you, if you're not in that place, if you're feeling like life is feeling a bit dull or monotonous, or you're just like feel like there's something missing in your life, take a look at these things, because I promise you that there's so much more to life than dullness. There's so much more to life than feeling like you have more to give. If you feel that nudge in your heart that you have more to give, it's because God is calling you for more and to more. And that is such a cool invitation. And to get to that place, you need to examine these things that we just talked about. So I hope you found this conversation helpful and just like a resource to start having these conversations with yourself. I would love to hear how it resonated for you. So please leave me a comment, send me a DM. I want to hear all the things because it's so important to me that these messages serve you. With all that said, if what we talked about really spoke to you today and you want to work with me more privately or just have a conversation about what does this look like in my life, Lindsay, I offer one-on-one coaching services. So if that interests you, by the time you're seeing this video, there'll be a way for you to get in contact with me on my website. Well, that already is there. So go look on my website. I'll link it down below. And then also, if you are interested in having me come share a message like this or like something else to a group that you may be hosting, maybe you're hosting an event or maybe you need a speaker at some event that you're a part of, I'm happy to do guest speaking events. So again, pop on my website with Love by Lindsay. I'll link it in the show notes or down below. Anything else, I would just love if you follow along. If none of that happens, the most important thing for me is just that you hopefully took something away from this message. I'm so excited. If you liked it, let me know. That way I know that we should do more messages like this in the future. Follow my Instagram with Love. Love is spelled Luv by Lindsay, Landsey. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.